Once upon a time, deep in a quiet forest, there was a cozy little cabin. Inside lived a playful bunny named Bun Bun. He had big ruby red eyes that sparkled with curiosity. Bun Bun loved to run and play in the woods, but sometimes he could be a bit mischievous, which made Bunny Mom both proud and exasperated. One sunny morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, waking Bun Bun from his dreams. He rubbed his eye, hopped out of bed, and noticed the table set with Bunny Mom's special breakfast delicious carrot cake and warm milk. Wow, this breakfast looks so yummy, Bun Bun exclaimed happily. But instead of sitting down to enjoy it, Bun Bun grabbed a piece of cake and ran into the living room to play race car. Pushing the cake around with his toy car, he shouted excitedly, "I'm the greatest race car driver." As he played, he accidentally knocked over a favorite lamp with a loud crash. The lamp fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. Bunny Mom rushed and unsaw the mess. She frowned and said, "Bun Bun, how could you be so careless? That was one of our favorite lamps." Bun Bun froze, tears welling up in his eyes. He whispered softly, "I'm sorry, Mommy. I didn't mean to." Bunny Mom sighed and began picking up the broken pieces without saying more. But Bun Bun felt a pang of sadness inside. Does Mommy not love me anymore? Why is she mad at me? The next morning, feeling low, Bun Bun wandered near the edge of the forest. Kicking pebbles along the way, he suddenly heard a faint chirp, chirp, chirp. Following the sound, he found a bird trapped in some thorns. Its wing was injured, and it struggled weakly. "Don't worry, little bird. I'll help you." Bun Bun carefully freed the bird from the thorns. "Thank you, kind bunny," the bird said weakly, "but my wing is hurt, and I can't fly." Feeling sorry for the bird, Bun Bun decided to take it home and ask Bunny Mom for help. He gently wrapped the bird in a soft leaf and carried it back to the cabin. When Bunny Mom saw Bun Bun holding the bird, she looked surprised at first, then smiled warmly. "Oh, sweetheart, you're so thoughtful. Let's take care of this poor little bird together." Bunny Mom brought out her first aid kit, cleaned the bird's wound, applied ointment, and made a cozy nest for it. Throughout the process, Bun Bun stayed close by, learning how to care for others. A few days later, the bird's injury improved, and it was finally able to spread its wings again. Before flying away, the bird turned to Bun Bun and said gratefully, "Thank you for saving me, little bunny. I hope we meet again someday." Watching the bird soar back into the sky, Bun Bun felt much lighter. Still, he couldn't resist asking Bunny Mom, "Mommy, why were you upset yesterday when I broke the lamp? Do you still love me?" Bunny Mom knelt down and stroked Bun Bun's head gently. "Of course I love you, sweetie. But when you do something wrong, I need to tell you what went wrong so you can learn and grow. Just like today, you learned to care about others, and that's part of growing up. If I didn't remind you to be careful, you might hurt even more things." Bun Bun nodded thoughtfully. "So, Mommy scolds me because she wants me to become better." Bunny Mom hugged him tightly and smiled. "Exactly, dear. Everything I say is meant to help you become the best version of yourself. No matter what happens, I will always love you." That night, As Bun Bun lay in bed, thinking about what Bunny Mom had said, he drifted off to sleep. In his dream, he found himself in a magical place called the Garden of Love. The Garden of Love was filled with colorful flowers, each representing an emotion. There were cheerful sunflowers, sand violets, and fiery reed roses. As Bun Bun explored, he spotted a giant golden sunflower labeled Mommy's Love. "What's this?" Bun Bun asked curiously. A talking dandelion floated over unexplained softly. "This is the flower of Mommy's love. Sometimes it grows thorns that may hurt, but it always shines brightly, protecting and guiding you." Bun Bun understood immediately. So, Mommy's scolding is also a kind of love. The next morning, Bun Bun woke up feeling wiser. He helped Bunny Mom tidy the house and promised to be more careful in the future. Bunny Mom watched her son's transformation and smiled happily. "My little Bun Bun is growing up." From then on, whenever Bun Bun made a mistake, he remembered his magical dream and realized that Mommy's criticism wasn't because she didn't love him. It was because she wanted him to become the best he could be. A mother's love is like the ocean, deep and vast. Even when waves crash, they teach us how to navigate life. Remember, no matter what, Mommy loves you forever.
Hey kids, an annual big event in the forest is here. In the strength contest, the elephant has always been the champion, but the hippo isn't convinced. How will they compete against each other to win the competition? The hippo secretly did something. There's a secret about honesty hidden in this story. Let's go undiscover it together. In the luscious green forest, the annual strength contest is a huge event that all the animals look forward to. On the day of the contest, the forest becomes as lively as a bustling carnival. Colorful streamers are draped all over the branches of the tree. When the sunlight shines on them, they sparkle with a charming glow. The cheerful little birds are hopping up and down on the branches, chirping loudly. The strength contest is starting. Come and watch. The lively squirrels are just as excited. They're scurrying up and down the trees, and their tails are swaying with their nimble bodies, as if they're waving cheering flags for the contestants. This year, the two most eye-catching contestants in the strength contest are definitely the elephant. The elephant has always been the symbol of strength in the forest. Its four thick legs are like four enormous stone pillars, firmly supporting its huge body. Its long trunk seems to have magical power. With a gentle curl, it can easily lift a thick tree trunk. Because of this, the elephant has almost always won the championship trophy of the strength contest every year. And the hippo, its body is also extremely massive. Its round body is like a moving hill, and its wide mouth can open really wide, revealing a row of sharp teeth. Just standing there, it gives off a sense of power that makes others respect it. The hippo is really frustrated. It thinks that its strength is no less than the elephant's. Why should the elephant be the champion every year? So, when it was time to sign up for this year's contest, the hippo didn't hesitate and stepped forward to register. It secretly swore in its heart, "This year I'm definitely going to beat the elephant and let everyone know that the hippo, also have super strength." Finally, the competition kicked off. The animals in the forest came from all directions and crowded around the competition venue so tightly that there was no room to move. The majestic lion stood on the high referee's platform. It cast a dignified glance around, cleared its throat, and announced loudly, to ensure that everyone stays safe and doesn't get hurt during the competition, this year we'll have a more peaceful way to determine the winner. That is, weighing. Whoever has a greater weight will become the well-deserved champion of strength. Upon hearing this, the animals nodded in agreement one after another, and a chorus of agreed sounds rose and fell at the scene. The competition started, and the elephant was the first to step onto the weighing scale. It walked with steady and powerful steps. Every time it took a step, the ground trembled slightly, as if showing off its unparalleled strength to everyone. After standing on the scale, the elephant stood firmly, just like an extremely sturdy iron tower that couldn't be shaken by the wind or thunder. The lion referee looked carefully at the number on the scale and then shouted at the top of its lungs, "The elephant's weight is 5,000 kilograms." As soon as this number was announced, the animals around let out a gasp of surprise. Some of the little animals were so shocked that their mouths dropped open. They started whispering to each other, "Wow, the elephant is so heavy." It seems like the championship is almost guaranteed for it again. It was the hippo's turn. It walked slowly onto the weighing scale, but its heart was pounding like a rabbit was jumping inside. It knew clearly that if it was just comparing weights, it couldn't beat the elephant. It had to come up with a way. At this moment, the fox that had been hiding aside watching the fun had an idea. It quietly crept up to the hippo's art and whispered, "Mr. Hippo, I have an idea that will surely make you win. Find two sandbags into your legs during the break. Then your weight will increase." The hippo's eyes lit up when it heard this, but it was also a bit hesitant. Is this going to work? Won't it be discovered? The fox patted its chest and promised, "Don't worry, as long as you're careful, there will be no problem. When you win the competition, don't forget about me." The hippo gritted its teeth, stamped its foot, and said, "Okay, let's do it." So the hippo rolled its eyes and said to the lion referee with a tired look on its face, "Your Honor, I'm really exhausted from coming all the way here. Can I have a break in the middle?" The lion referee looked at the hippo. Seeing that it was panting heavily, it thought that the hippo might really be tired. So it nodded and agreed. During the break, the hippo sneaked to a hidden corner in the forest. It took out two sandbags that it had prepared in advance from the bushes where it had hidden them earlier and tied them to its thick legs in a hurry. While tying them, it muttered to itself, "You won't be able to beat me this time." After tying the sandbags, the hippo tried to take a few steps. The sandbags were swinging around and almost made it fall. It quickly adjusted the straps and finally managed to make the sandbag stick tightly to its legs after a lot of effort. The break was over, and the hippo pretended to be calm and stepped onto the weighing scale again. The lion referee raised a red flag and shouted loudly, "The competition continues. Start." The two contestants, the hippo and the elephant, stood on the weighing scale. Everyone held their breath nervously and stared at the number on the scale without blinking. After a while, the numbers started to jump. And finally, it showed that the hippo's weight was 5 kilograms heavier than the elephant's. The lion referee was taken aback, double-checked the number carefully, and then announced, "The hippo wins." Hearing this result, the animals around Worst Undend let out an incredible cry of surprise. Although the elephant was also very surprised, it still walked over magnanimous with a sincere smile on its face and said to the hippo, "Congratulations, hippo." The hippo showed a proud smile and was overjoyed in its heart. I finally beat the elephant. Now I'm the strongest animal in the forest. Next, there were several steps to the podium. Usually, it would be a piece of cake for the hippo, but today, the hippo seemed extremely struggling when going up the steps. Its legs felt as if they were filled with lead, so heavy that it had to use all its strength to take each step. Big beads of sweat rolled down its forehead, and it looked really awkward. The animals in the audience were all very curious and started whispering to each other, "What's wrong with the hippo? It's not like this usually." Just as the hippo was about to reach the top of the podium, it accidentally slipped and fell forward. With a loud thud, the hippo ended heavily on the step. This fall was quite hard, and the sandbags on the hippo's legs were broken, and the sand inside spilled out whooshing. Seeing this scene, the animals immediately understood what was going on. The scene was in an uproar. Everyone started to scold the hippo. "Hippo, how could you cheat? It's so disgraceful to win the competition like this. It's really embarrassing for us forest animals." Some animals were so angry that they stamped their feet and shouted loudly. The hippo must be punished severely. This kind of cheating behavior can't be tolerated at all. The hippo lay on the ground, blushing deeply, wishing it could find a hole in the ground to hide in. It knew that it had done something wrong and hung its head in shame, wishing it could bury its head in the ground. The lion referee's face turned very serious. It looked at the hippo sternly and said loudly, "Hippo, the most important thing in a competition is fairness and justice. Your cheating behavior has seriously violated the competition rules." Then the lion referee announced again, "The elephant is still the first place. It's the heaviest animal in the forest." Just when everyone was scolding the hippo, the elephant stepped forward. It walked up to the depressed hippo and gently patted the hippo with its trunk. Then it turned to the other animals and said, "Everyone, don't be angry. I believe the hippo must know that it was wrong, although it made a mistake this time. We can't deny all its efforts just because of this one mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. What's important is to realize the mistake and correct it." The animals listened to the elephant's words and quieted down, starting to think about the truth in what the elephant said. The elephant walked onto the podium again. It took the championship trophy, looked at the animals in the audience, and said seriously, "Winning first place is indeed very important. It's a recognition of our strength, but keeping an honest heart is more important than anything else. When we participate in a competition, it's not just about winning. It's also about showing our strength and good virtues. I hope everyone can remember this." The animals listened to the elephant's words and all clapped their hands. The applause was like thunder undecoed in the forest for a long time. After the competition, the elephant saw the hippo hiding alone aside. It walked over with gentle steps. When the hippo saw the elephant, it lowered its head even more and said softly, "Elephant, I was wrong. I shouldn't have cheated." The elephant gently patted the hippo with its trunk and said, "I know you really wanted to win. Actually, you're also very strong. Your strength is not small. But when we compete, we should win fairly. Let's forget about this matter. We're still good friends." The hippo raised its head with tears in its eyes and said gratefully, "Elephant, thank you. I won't do this again in the future." From then on, the hippo really seemed to have changed. It not only tried hard to correct its mistake, but also often took the initiative to help other little animals. The animals in the forest also understood the importance of honesty from this competition. Everyone became more united and friendly and lived happily together in this beautiful forest. Hey, kids, listen up. In the vast world out there, a flock of geese is flying hard towards the south. On the way, they come across a poor-injured swan. The geese try really hard to take the swan along with them, but the swan just complains that the geese are flying too slowly. After the geese leave in disappointment, danger starts coming one after another. Let's follow Teacher Bi and find out what happens. Under a vast and boundless sky, a group of geese are flying in a neat V formation, heading south in a grand march. They are strong and agile, and their powerful wings cut through the air, making a whooshing sound. The leading goose has a determined look in its eyes, keenly observing the path ahead, as if guiding the whole flock towards the warmth. Along the way, they fly over mountains and rivers and go through the baptism of wind and rain. But they never stop their journey. Just as they are flying, a peaceful lake appears below them. Tall reeds grow all around the lake. When the gentle wind blows, the reeds sway gracefully. The geese's eyes are drawn to a struggling figure on the lake. It turns out to be a swan. Its feathers are as white as snow and glisten in the sunlight. It should have been gracefully swimming on the lake, but now it looks really miserable. One of its wings hangs down weakly, and bright red blood drips into the lake, spreading out into faint red patches. The geese slowly lower their altitude and land by the lake. When the injured swan sees the geese, hope immediately lights up in its eyes. It swims anxiously to the shore and shouts loudly at the geese, "Please help me. I was shot by a hunter and my wing is injured. Please take me to the warm south, or I'll freeze to death here." The swan's voice is full of pain and despair, and its sad eyes seem to be telling its tragic story. A strong and sturdy goose, full of pity in its eyes, looks at the poor swan and decides to help it. But soon, it gets into a dilemma. Frowning and tilting its head, it says to the swan, "How can I take you to the south?" The swan is also very worried. It walks around by the lake and suddenly sees the reeds on the ground. Its eyes light up and it says to the goose, "You can tie me to your foot with these reeds, and that'll work." The goose listens and looks carefully at the reeds and then at the swan. It thinks this seems like a workable idea, so the goose starts to act. It picks up the reeds one by one with its beak and carefully ties the swan's body to its own foot. During this process, the swan hisses in pain. The goose soothes it, "Just hold on a little longer. It'll be done soon," and speeds up. Finally, they are successfully tied together. The goose takes a deep breath, flaps its wings hard, and slowly lifts the swan into the sky. At first, the goose can barely keep its balance, but after a while, it feels really tired. The frequency of its wing flapping slows down significantly, and its body starts to shake. But the swan below looks very relaxed. Looking at the slow-moving goose, it suddenly says, "Why are you flying so slowly, you goose? You're such a clumsy goose. If I were injured, I'd definitely fly faster than you." The swan's voice is sharp and piercing, carrying far in the wind. The goose doesn't feel good hearing this. It's angry and tired, feeling that all its efforts have been ignored by the swan. The more it thinks about it, the angrier it gets. It can't hold it in anymore, so it slowly lands on the ground. It uses its beak to untie the reeds and then says seriously to the swan, "Since I'm flying so slowly, you can find some other fast-flying animal to take you to the south." After that, without looking back, it spreads its wings and flies into the sky, leaving the swan standing there in a daze. The swan looks at the goose flying away and feels really regretful. It realizes that what it said just now was really hurtful. It remembers how the goose tried hard to carry it despite the hardship, but all it did was complain. It walks around by the lake, not knowing what to do. Just then, a clever little squirrel jumps down from a tree. It sees the swan and asks curiously, "What's wrong with you, Mr. Swan?" The swan tells the little squirrel its whole story. The little squirrel tilts its head and thinks for a while, then says, "Mr. Swan, you were wrong. The goose was kind enough to help you, but you didn't show any gratitude. But don't worry. I know there's a kind of herb that might be able to heal your wing." When the swan hears this, hope lights up in its eyes again. It quickly says, "Little squirrel, please tell me where I can find this herb." The little squirrel takes the swan deep into the forest. They find that herb. Following the little squirrel's instructions, the swan chews the herb with its beak and applies it to its injured wing. Amazingly, after a few days, the swan's wing starts to get better and it can even try flapping it. During this time, the swan keeps reflecting on its behavior. It knows that it was really wrong. It decides that once its wing is fully healed, it must find the geese and apologize to them. A few more days pass, and the swan's wing is finally fully recovered. It flaps its wings hard and flies into the sky. As it flies, it looks for the flock of geese. Finally, in the vast sky, the swan sees the familiar flock of geese. It speeds up, flies in front of the geese, and then slowly lands on the ground. The geese are all surprised to see the swan. The swan lowers its head, looking very ashamed, and says to the goose that once helped it, "Brother Goose, I was wrong. I shouldn't have complained about you. You tried so hard to help me, but I said such hurtful words. Can you forgive me?" The goose looks at the swan apologizing sincerely, and the anger in its heart gradually fades away. It smiles and says, "It's okay, swan, as long as you can understand that you should be grateful when someone helps you in the future." Just then, a sharp cry suddenly comes from the sky. It turns out to be an eagle circling. Its sharp eyes immediately lock onto the swan and the geese. The eagle swoops down, aiming straight at the swan. It thinks that the injured swan must be an easy target. The swan is so scared that it shivers all over. The geese are also nervous and quickly form a circle, protecting the swan in the middle. The leading goose shouts loudly, "Don't be afraid, everyone. Let's fight the eagle together." The eagle charges forward, and the geese flap their wings one by one, trying their best to resist the eagle's attack. Some of them peck at the eagle with their beaks, and some hit the eagle with their wings. When the swan sees this scene, it is filled with gratitude. It also musters up the courage to join the fight despite the danger. It uses its wing that hasn't fully recovered to its best state and bravely rushes towards the eagle. After a fierce battle, the eagle gradually loses the upper hand. Seeing that the situation is not good, it slinks away. The swan looks at the geese that fought to protect it, and tears well up in its eyes. It expresses its gratitude to the geese again and realizes more deeply the power of friendship and unity. From then on, the swan and the geese become true good friends and start their journey to the south together. They haven't flown for long when suddenly a large mass of thick dark clouds surges ahead. The sky darkens in an instant, and big raindrops start pounding down with a pattering sound. The rain gets heavier and heavier, forming a curtain of rain that makes it almost impossible for the geese and the swan to tell the direction. The wind also joins in, howling and blowing their bodies around. A young goose is blown away from the flock by the strong wind. It cries out in fear, "Mom, Mom!" The mother goose is extremely worried and immediately turns around to chase after it. But the strong wind makes her flying very difficult. The other geese also get flustered, and their formation starts to break up. When the swan sees this chaotic scene, it shouts loudly, "Don't panic, everyone. Let's hold hands. No, hook our wings together and keep the formation." As it says this, it takes the leaden flies to a goose's side, gently hooking its wing with the goose's. Encouraged by this, the geese follow suit one by one. They support each other and move forward with difficulty in the wind and rain. At this moment, the swan notices that the mother goose is still struggling to catch up with the young goose in the distance. It says to the goose beside it, "I'll go and help her." After that, it rushes into the wind and rain. Relying on its strong body, the swan is relatively more stable in the wind and rain. It quickly gets close to the mother goose and the young goose, uses its body to block some of the wind and rain for them, and escorts them back to the flock. After a lot of effort, they finally pass through this stormy area. The sun shines on them again. Everyone is exhausted, but their hearts are filled with the joy of surviving. The geese look at the swan with admiration. The goose that once helped the swan's eyes with emotion, "Swan, it's all thanks to you. If it weren't for you coming up with the idea to keep us steady and then going to help the mother goose, we would have been in danger this time." The swan says a little shyly, "Don't say that. You guys fought against the eagle to protect me before. Now I'm just doing what I should do. We're friends, and we should help each other." During the rest of the journey, the swan and the geese become even more united and friendly. They share the food they find on the journey together and look for safe and comfortable places to rest. The swan, with its familiarity with the water area, finds the most suitable landing spot for the geese, and the geese, with their rich migration experience, guide the swan in the right direction. Finally, they arrive in the warm south. Here, The sun shines brightly, and there is plenty of grass and water. It's a paradise for animals. The swan and the geese live happily in this wonderland. And their friendship story spreads farther and farther in the animal kingdom, inspiring every little animal to cherish friendship, learn to be grateful, and be united. Hey kids, the story of the geese and the swan ends here. I hope you can be like them, be grateful when your friends help you, and bravely face and try your best to resolve difficulties and conflicts. May you all gain the most sincere and firm friendship and grow up happily. Hey kids, a long, long time ago, the eldest son of a wealthy businessman tried to find the princess but lost his life. Then the second son met the same fate. Now, the youngest son is about to set off. Can he succeed in finding the princess? Let's follow teacher Bibi and find out together. Once upon a time, there was a rich businessman who had 3 sons. When the sons grew up, the eldest son said to his father, "Dad, I want to go on a trip and see the world. Please allow me to do this." The father booked a beautiful ship for his eldest son, and the young man set sail on it. A few weeks later, the ship dropped anchor and docked in a big city. The eldest son of the businessman went ashore. The first thing he saw when he got ashore was a huge notice on a board. The notice said that if anyone could find the king's daughter within 8 days, he could marry her. But if he failed, his head would be cut off. Great, the young man thought after reading the notice. That shouldn't be too difficult. He found the king's messenger and said he was willing to look for the princess. "Sure," the king replied. "You can search the whole palace, but remember, if you fail, you'll lose your head." Then he ordered all the doors to be opened and prepared food and drinks for the young man. After the young man ate and drank, he started looking for the princess. However, even though he searched every corner, box, and cabinet, he couldn't find the princess. After 8 days, he had to give up and his head was cut off. A long time passed, and his father and brothers got no news from him. They were very worried. Finally, the second son couldn't stand it anymore. He said, "Dear Dad, please give me a ship and some money so that I can go and find my brother." The father prepared another ship for the second son, and the young man set off. The wind blew him to the same port where his brother had landed. When he saw the first ship docked at the shore, his heart started pounding hard. He thought, "My brother must be nearby." So he took a small boat and went ashore. As soon as he jumped onto the dock, he also saw the notice about the princess. He thought, "My brother must have volunteered to find the princess and then lost his head. I must also do my best to try to find the princess and my brother at the same time. This shouldn't be too hard." But he didn't do any better than his brother. After 8 days, his head was also cut off. Now, only the youngest son was left at home. Since both his brothers hadn't come back, he also asked his father for a ship to go and look for the 2 missing brothers. When the ship set sail, a strong wind suddenly blew and directly carried him to the port where the notice was. "Oh," he said after reading it, "as long as I find the princess, I can marry her. It's clear what happened to my brothers, but anyway, I think I have to try my luck." So he walked towards the palace. On the way, he met an old woman who stopped him and begged him for money. What a pity! The young man thought, even if I can find this place again, I'm afraid I won't be able to tell which one is the princess. He stared closely at the princess and saw her running over, clapping her hands happily and shouting, "Oh, leave this lovely lion with us tonight. It will surely be a lot of fun." The king didn't stay long. Before he left, he gave the lion to the girls. The girls played with the lion for a long time until they got sleepy and thought it was time to go to bed. But the princess took the lion to her own room and put it on the floor. Just as she started to doze off, she heard a voice very close to her, which scared her so much that she jumped up immediately. "Oh, lovely princess, you don't know how I managed to find you." The princess jumped out of bed and shouted, "The lion!" That lion? But her friends thought she was just having a bad dream and didn't bother to get up and check. "Oh, lovely princess," the voice continued. "Don't be afraid. I'm the son of a rich businessman, and my greatest wish is to marry you. To get you, I hid myself inside this golden lion. But what's the use?" she asked. "If you can't tell me apart from my friends, you'll still lose your head. Please help me," he said. "I've done so much for you. Maybe you can do this one thing for me. Then, listen. On the 8th night, I'll tie a white belt around my waist." Early the next morning, the king came to take the lion away because the old woman had come to the palace to claim the lion. When they reached a safe place where no one could see them, she let the young man out. Then he went back to the palace to see the king and told him that he wanted to look for the princess. "Fine," the king said, although he was tired of saying the same thing. "But if you fail, you'll lose your head." The young man stayed quietly in the palace, eating, drinking, and enjoying all the beautiful things around. He also pretended to be busy looking for the princess in every cabinet and corner from time to time. On the 8th day, he went to the room where the king was. "Please open the palace floor," he said to the king. The king let out a cry but quickly controlled himself and asked, "What do you want to open the floor for?" "There's nothing down there." But all the courtiers were watching him, and he couldn't object any more. So he ordered the floor to be opened as the young man wanted. The young man walked straight down the steps to the door. Then he turned around and asked for the key. The king was forced to open the door, and then the next door, until all 7 doors were opened and they entered the room. In the room, 12 girls were standing in a row. They were so similar that no one could tell the difference between them. But when the young man looked over, one of the girls secretly took out a white belt from her pocket and tied it around her waist. "I ask that she become my wife." The king had to admit defeat and ordered a wedding to be held. 8 days later, the newlyweds said goodbye to the king and set off for the young man's hometown, taking a whole ship full of treasures and dowries. But they didn't forget the old woman who had brought them happiness. They gave her enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. "Leave me alone." "Old woman," he replied. "Oh, don't leave me empty-handed," she said. "You're such a handsome young man. You surely won't refuse to give an old woman a few cents. I told you." "Old woman, leave me alone." "Are you in trouble?" she asked. "Tell me, maybe I can help you." So he told her how he was racking his brains to find the princess. "As long as you have enough money, I can easily help you with that. Oh, I have plenty of money, he replied. Good. You have to go to the goldsmith and ask him to make a golden lion with crystal eyes. Put something inside it so that it can play music when everything is done. Bring it to me. The young man did everything as required. After the lion was made, the old woman hid him inside the lion's belly and took him to the king. The king liked the lion very much and wanted to buy it. But she replied, "This isn't mine, no matter how much money you offer. My master won't sell the lion." "Well, anyway, leave the lion with me for a few days," he said. "I want to show it to my daughter." "Okay, I can agree to that," the old woman replied, "but I must take it back tomorrow." Then she left. The king watched her until she was out of sight to make sure she wasn't secretly spying on him. Then he carried the golden lion to his bedroom and lifted a few loose boards on the floor. There was a flight of steps under the floor. He went down until he came to a door at the end. Then he opened the door and entered a narrow passage. At the end of the passage was another locked door. He opened this door too. The young man, hiding inside the golden lion, secretly watched all this uncounted that there were 7 doors in total. After all the doors were opened, the king entered a lovely room. In the room, the princess was playing with her 11 friends. The 12 girls were wearing the same clothes and looked as alike as 2 peas. "What a pity," the young man thought. "Even if I can find this place again, I'm afraid I won't be able to tell which one is the princess." He stared closely at the princess and saw her running over, clapping her hands happily and shouting, "Oh, leave this lovely lion with us tonight. It will surely be a lot of fun." The king didn't stay long. Before he left, he gave the lion to the girls. The girls played with the lion for a long time until they got sleepy and thought it was time to go to bed. But the princess took the lion to her own room and put it on the floor. Just as she started to doze off, she heard a voice very close to her, which scared her so much that she jumped up immediately. "Oh, lovely princess, you don't know how I managed to find you." The princess jumped out of bed and shouted, "The lion!" That lion, but her friends thought she was just having a bad dream and didn't bother to get up and check. "Oh, lovely princess," the voice continued, "don't be afraid. I'm the son of a rich businessman, and my greatest wish is to marry you. To get you, I hid myself inside this golden lion." "But what's the use?" she asked. "If you can't tell me apart from my friends, you'll still lose your head." "Please help me," he said. "I've done so much for you. Maybe you can do this one thing for me." "Then listen. On the 8th night, I'll tie a white belt around my waist. Then you can recognize me." Early the next morning, the king came to take the lion away because the old woman had come to the palace to claim the lion. When they reached a safe place where no one could see them, she let the young man out. Then he went back to the palace to see the king and told him that he wanted to look for the princess. "Fine," the king said, although he was tired of saying the same thing. "But if you fail, you'll lose your head." The young man stayed quietly in the palace, eating, drinking, and enjoying all the beautiful things around. He also pretended to be busy looking for the princess in every cabinet and corner from time to time. On the 8th day, he went to the room where the king was. "Please open the palace floor," he said to the king. The king let out a cry, but quickly controlled himself and asked, "What do you want to open the floor for? There's nothing down there." But all the courtiers were watching him, and he couldn't object anymore. So he ordered the floor to be opened as the young man wanted. The young man walked straight down the steps to the door. Then he turned around and asked for the key. The king was forced to open the door, and then the next door, until all 7 doors were opened and they entered the room. In the room, 12 girls were standing in a row. They were so similar that no one could tell the difference between them. But when the young man looked over, one of the girls secretly took out a white belt from her pocket and tied it around her waist. The young man immediately walked up to her and said, "This is the princess. I ask that she become my wife." The king had to admit defeat and ordered a wedding to be held. 8 days later, the newlyweds said goodbye to the king and set off for the young man's hometown, taking a whole ship full of treasures and dowries. But they didn't forget the old woman who had brought them happiness. They gave her enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. Hey kids! The story of the youngest son of the wealthy businessman and the princess ends here. The youngest son, with his wisdom and courage, not only found the princess but also found happiness. I hope you can be like him, not back down when facing difficulties and use your wisdom to solve problems. Remember, courage and wisdom will make your dreams come true. See you next story time. Dear little friends, today we're going to tell you a story called The Race Between the Rabbit and the Turtle. In Forest Town, the rabbit named Hopper is super proud, and the turtle named Slowpoke is very steady. They compete in a running race at the forest sports meet. Hopper is really fast, while Slowpoke crawls slowly. Can Slowpoke beat Hopper? Let's listen carefully. In the beautiful forest town, there live many lovely little animals. There are tall trees, clear streams, and large patches of soft grass, which are the happy homes for these little animals. Among them, the rabbit Hopper and the turtle Slowpoke are well known to everyone. The rabbit Hopper is really good looking. It has a coat of white fur as soft as cotton. Its 2 long ears are always standing upright, and its ruby-like eyes are shining brightly. It can run so fast that hardly any other animal in the forest can match it. This makes Hopper very proud. Every time it runs in the forest, it leaves other little animals far behind and then stops to show off its speed proudly. As for the turtle Slowpoke, it carries a heavy green shell with beautiful patterns on it. Its 4 short legs make it crawl very slowly, but Slowpoke has a calm personality. It's never in a hurry and always does things step by step. One day, there was a sports meet in the forest. Various kinds of competitions attracted many little animals to sign up. The rabbit Hopper, of course, didn't hesitate to enter the running race. It thought to itself, "I'm sure to be the champion of this running race again. I run as fast as the wind. Who can beat me?" The turtle Slowpoke also signed up for the running race. When other little animals heard this news, they couldn't help laughing. "Slowpoke, you crawl so slowly. How can you take part in the running race?" The little monkey, hanging upside down on a branch, said with a giggle. Slowpoke replied calmly, "I want to give it a try. Even if I run slowly, I still want to try my best to finish the race." On the day of the race, the sun was shining brightly. and the forest was full of excitement. The little animals gathered by the track to cheer for the contestants. The running track was a meadow surrounding the forest, and the scenery along the way was beautiful. With a loud whistle from the elephant referee, the running race began. The rabbit hopper dashed out like an arrow leaving the bow and quickly left the other contestants far behind. While running, it looked back and saw that the turtle slowpoke had just taken a few steps. Hopper couldn't help laughing loudly. With your speed, you still want to race with me? By the time I win the championship, I'll have run several laps already. After saying that, Hopper ran even faster and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. The turtle slowpoke, though knowing it was slow, wasn't discouraged at all. It took a deep breath, steadily moved its short legs, and crawled forward firmly step by step. Its little claws grasped the ground tightly, and every time it moved, its shell on the back shook slightly. It thought in its heart, although I crawl slowly, as long as I don't give up and keep going, I will definitely reach the finish line. Slowpoke crawled and crawled, passing by a colorful flower bed. The flowers were as red as fire, as pink as a rosy cloud, and as white as snow, giving off a charming fragrance. Colorful butterflies whirred, dancing merrily among the flowers. One of the butterflies flapped its beautiful wings and flew up to Slowpoke. It asked curiously, "Slowpoke, where are you going in such a hurry? Why don't you come and play with us among the flowers?" Slowpoke looked up at the butterfly and said seriously, "I'm going to take part in the running race. I can't stop to play. I have to keep crawling to the finish line." The butterfly flapped its wings and flew away, muttering, "So strange. It's so slow but still wants to race." Slowpoke continued to crawl forward. Not far ahead, there was a clear stream. The water flowed gurgling, making a pleasant sound as if playing a beautiful piece of music. A group of little fish were swimming freely in the water, sometimes leaping out of the water and sometimes diving to the bottom. One of the little fish swam to the edge of the stream. Seeing Slowpoke struggling to crawl, it warmly invited, "Slowpoke, look how cool the water is. Come and take a bath and have a rest." Looked at the stream and shook its head, saying, "Thank you, little fish, but I'm in a race and I can't give up halfway. I have to hurry up." The little fish wagged its tail helplessly and swam away. Slowpoke crawled across the meadow and then came across a small hillock. For Slowpoke, this hillock was quite a big challenge. It tried hard to lift its front legs to climb up, but as soon as it climbed a little bit, it slid down because the slope was too steep. But Slowpoke didn't give up. It tried again and again. Every time it slid down, it encouraged itself in its heart, "I can do it. Let me try one more time." After many attempts, Slowpoke finally managed to climb over the hillock. By then, it was already a bit out of breath, and its limbs were sore, but it still didn't stop moving forward. Time passed by minute, and the turtle Slowpoke was still crawling persistently. Its eyes were determined, staring straight at the finish line ahead, while the rabbit Hopper was sound asleep under a big tree. When Hopper finally woke up, the sun was already setting. It rubbed its eyes and thought, "Oh, how long have I slept? I have to run quickly." It jumped up and rushed towards the finish line, but when it was near the finish line, It's all that the turtle Slowpoke was already standing there. The little animals were cheering and clapping for Slowpoke. Hopper couldn't believe its eyes. It asked in surprise, "Slowpoke, how did you get here before me?" Slowpoke smiled and said, "Hopper, although I crawl slowly, I never stopped moving forward, but you were proud. You thought you were sure to win. So you relaxed your guard. In life, no matter what we do, we can't be proud. We should be like me, taking one step at a time and persevering to succeed." The rabbit hopper hung its head in shame. It understood that pride would lead to failure, and only modesty and perseverance could bring victory. From then on, the rabbit hopper was no longer proud. It oft unpracticed with the turtle Slowpoke, learning Slowpoke's spirit of perseverance. And because of this race, the little animals in the forest saw Slowpoke's persistent willpower, and everyone admired it even more. In the forest town, the little animals still lived happily, and the story of the race between the rabbit and the turtle has been passed down, always reminding everyone not to be proud and to keep working hard. Dear little friends, the story of the race between the rabbit and the turtle is over. From this story, we know that pride makes people fall behind and perseverance leads to success. I hope you will carry this lesson with you and move forward bravely on your growth journey. See you next time for more stories. Dear little friends, today we're going to tell you a story called "The Monkeys Try to Catch the Moon." In a big forest, a little monkey named Peepee discovers that the moon has seemingly fallen into a well. That's a huge problem. To fish out the moon, the little monkeys come up with many ideas. Can they succeed? Now, prick up your ears and let's listen to the story together. In a lush and green forest, there lives a group of lively, uncute little monkeys. All day long, they jump up and down among the trees. Sometimes they swing on the branches, and sometimes they chase and play with each other, having a great time. The forest is filled with their cheerful cries. One peaceful and beautiful night, the silver moonlight spills over the forest, as if laying a layer of silver gauze on the ground. Just like usual, after a day of playing, the little monkeys gather under an ancient big tree to rest. At this moment, a little monkey named Peepee bounces up to a well. It bends down and leans over the edge of the well, looking into it curiously. Whoa! Peepee suddenly lets out a scream. The sound is so loud in the quiet night that it startles the other little monkeys. Peepee, what's wrong with you? A little monkey named Kong Kong quickly runs over and asks. With a look of horror on its face, Peepee points into the well and stutters, "TH, the moon has fallen into the well." When the other little monkeys hear this, they all gather around. One by one, they lean over the well to look. Sure enough, there is a round and bright moon in the well, swaying on the water surface. What should we do? The moon has fallen into the well. One little monkey jumps up anxiously. If the moon stays in the well all the time, there won't be any moonlight at night, and the forest will be pitch black, another little monkey says worriedly. Just when everyone is scratching their heads in a hurry, the clever Kong Kong's eyes light up. And it shouts, "Guys, don't panic. Let's work together to fish the moon out of the well." Okay. The little monkeys respond one after another. But how to fish it out? At this time, an older monkey has a flash of inspiration. Looking at the thick big tree beside them, it says, "We can make use of this big tree." One monkey holds the tail of the next, and we hang upside down to catch the moon. They act right away. The oldest monkey climbs up the big tree first. It hooks its 2 feet tightly around a sturdy branch and then hangs upside down. Then the second monkey grabs the tail of the first monkey and also hangs upside down. In this way, the little monkeys connect one by one, like a long chain, slowly extending towards the well. Because Pee-Pee is the lightest, it is arranged at the bottom. It carefully stretches out its hands and slowly approaches the moon on the water surface. When its fingers just touch the water, something strange happens. The originally whole moon suddenly breaks into pieces of silver light spots, swaying on the water. Oops, it's not good. I've broken the moon, Pee-Pee shouts in fear. The monkeys above also get nervous when they hear the shout. What's going on, Pee-Pee? What's wrong with the moon? They all ask. With a sobbing voice, Pee-Pee says, "As soon as I touched the moon, it broke." The old monkey comforts it. "Pee-Pee, don't worry. Try again. Maybe the moon will be okay." So, Pee-Pee musters up the courage and reaches out to catch the moon again. This time, it is even more careful. But when its hand touches the water again, the moon breaks into light spots once more. Pee-Pee tries to catch it for a long time, but all it gets is a handful of water. It is so tired that it is out of breath, and its arms are too sore to lift up. Just then, the monkey at the top can't hold on any longer because it has been holding on for too long and its arms start to tremble. "I can't hold on anymore," it shouts. Immediately, the monkeys fall off the tree one by one in a mess. Although they failed to catch the moon the first time, the little monkeys don't give up. Kong Kong rubs its head and thinks for a while, then says, "Guys, let's think of another way. There must be a way to fish the moon out." At this time, a little monkey notices a long branch beside them. Its eyes light up, and it shouts, "We can use this branch to catch the moon." Everyone thinks this is a good idea, so they carry the branch to the well together. However, although the branch is long, it still can't reach the position of the moon in the well. The little monkeys try all kinds of ways. Sometimes they stick the branch in obliquely, and sometimes they turn the branch in another direction, but they still can't catch the moon. The little monkeys are so tired that they are sweating all over and gasping for breath as they sit on the ground. But looking at the moon in the well, none of them wants to give up like this. Just when everyone is frowning and at a loss, a little bird flies over. It perches on the branch and looks at the busy little monkeys curiously. "What are you doing?" the little bird asks. Pee-Pee tells the little bird the whole story. After hearing it, the little bird can't help laughing. Silly monkeys. The moon in the well is just a reflection of the moon in the sky. It's not the real moon, and you can't catch it. The little monkeys are half believing and half doubting. At this moment, a clever little monkey looks up at the sky. Sure enough, there is a big and round moon hanging in the sky, casting a gentle light. So that's how it is. The little monkeys suddenly understand, looking at each other's embarrassed looks. They can't help laughing heartily. Although they didn't succeed in catching the moon this time, the little monkeys understand a truth when facing things. We should think more. We can't just look at the surface phenomenon, and we also need to learn to use scientific knowledge to explain them. Moreover, the process of everyone working together to find a solution is more important than the result. From then on, the little monkeys still live happily in the forest, and their story has been passed down in the forest, always reminding the little animals to use their brains more and not to act blindly. Well, the story of the monkeys try to catch the moon ends here. Aren't the little monkeys cute when they work together to find a solution? But they made a joke because they didn't figure out that the moon in the well was a reflection. Remember this story. When you encounter problems in the future, think clearly first and don't be in a hurry. I'm looking forward to telling you more interesting stories next time. Bye-bye. Dear little friends, today we're going to tell a story called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. In a peaceful and beautiful small village, there is a naughty little boy named Ming Ming. Every day, he is in charge of herding sheep on the hillside, but the days of herding sheep are so boring. So one day, Ming Ming came up with a naughty idea to play a trick on everyone. He shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" And this shout eventually led to all his sheep being eaten by the wolf. Now, prick up your ears and listen to the story. In a peaceful and beautiful small village, there are rolling green mountains all around. At the foot of the mountains is a vast green meadow, just like a huge green velvet blanket. Most of the people in the village make a living by herding sheep, living a simple and happy life. There is a naughty, inactive little boy named Ming Ming. His cheeks are as red as ripe apples, and his black hair is always all over the place, as if hiding countless little secrets. Ming Ming's parents are also shepherds. They are so busy taking care of the sheep every day that they don't have time to keep an eye on Ming Ming all the time. So when Ming Ming was old enough to run and jump around, his parents asked him to help herd the sheep on the hillside, hoping that he could learn to take responsibility in this way. On the first day of herding sheep, Ming Ming felt it was extremely novel. He drove a group of snow-white sheep to the hillside. The sheep happily ate the tender green grass and bleated from time to time. Ming Ming chased after butterflies for a while and then lay on the grass, staring blankly at the blue sky and white clouds, having a great time. But it didn't take long before he got bored. There were only sheep on the meadow, and there was nothing new to play with. Suddenly, Ming Ming's eyes rolled around, and an odd idea popped into his head. He jumped up from the grass, cupped his hands around his mouth, and shouted towards the village, "Wolf! Wolf! Help!" The sound echoed through the valley and traveled far and wide. The villagers who were working in the village heard the shout and immediately put down their work. Some held hoes, and some held sickles, and they all rushed towards the hillside. They were panting as they ran, and their faces were full of anxiety. "Oh no, the wolf is here! Don't let it hurt the child and the sheep." And old Grandpa frowned and quickened his pace. Soon, the villagers arrived at the hillside, out of breath. They looked around but only saw Ming Ming standing there, grinning, and the sheep were peacefully eating grass. There was no sign of the wolf at all. "Ming Ming, where is the wolf? A young uncle wiped the sweat from his forehead and asked in confusion. Ming Ming laughed so hard that he bent over, and while laughing, he said, "There is no wolf. I tricked you. I just wanted to see how worried you would be. It's so much fun." The villagers were angry and helpless. Ming Ming, this is no joking matter. When the wolf comes, it's not a small thing. It can hurt the sheep and might even hurt you. An ant warned him seriously, but Ming Ming didn't take these words to heart at all. As soon as the villagers left, he went back to playing on his own. A few days later, Ming Ming went to herd the sheep on the hillside again. On this day, the sun was shining fiercely, and it was extremely hot. Ming Ming sat under the shade of a tree, feeling bored. The game of tricking the villagers that he had played before came back to his mind. He thought, "I fooled everyone last time. It must be even more fun to do it again this time." So Ming Ming repeated his old trick and shouted again, "Wolf, wolf, come quickly." The sound was even louder than last time. The villagers in the village heard the cry for help again. "Why is it Ming Ming shouting about the wolf again?" someone said in confusion. "Whether it's true or not, we'd better go and have a look. If the wolf really comes, the child and the sheep will be in danger," said a kind uncle. So the villagers put down their work again, picked up their tools, and ran towards the hillside. When they arrived, they still saw Ming Ming's naughty smiling face and the unharmed sheep. "Ming Ming, why are you lying again?" an irritable uncle said angrily. But Ming Ming didn't care. He still grinned and said, "You are so easy to fool. Look at you all out of breath from running. It's so funny." This time, the villagers were really angry. They all criticized Ming Ming. "You child, how can you keep lying? If the wolf really comes one day, we won't believe you anymore." After saying that, everyone turned around angrily and went back to the village. Days passed by, and Ming Ming still went to herd the sheep on the hillside every day. On this day, there were a few white clouds floating in the sky, and a gentle breeze blew by. The sheep were eating grass quietly. Suddenly, a big gray wolf leapt out from the bushes. The wolf opened its huge mouth, revealing sharp teeth, and its eyes flashed with a fierce light. It rushed straight towards the sheep. The sheep were frightened and ran in all directions, bleeding miserably. Ming Ming's face turned pale with fear, and his legs went weak. He wanted to run back to the village for help, but his legs seemed to be nailed to the ground, and he couldn't move. In a panic, he remembered the way he had shouted "Wolf, wolf" before. So he used all his strength and shouted, "Wolf, help!" His voice was filled with fear and despair. However, at this time, the villagers were busy in the village when they heard Ming Ming shout. Someone said, "It must be that naughty child lying again. Let's not be fooled this time." Everyone thought it made sense, and no one was willing to go to the hillside to find out what was going on. On the hillside, the wolf had already bit on several sheep, and the flock was in chaos. Ming Ming looked at the scene in front of him, feeling scared and regretful, with tears welling up in his eyes. He cried and shouted, "The wolf is really here! Help!" But all he got in response was the howling wind and the sheep's screams. Finally, The wolf was full and leisurely left, carrying a sheep in its mouth. Ming Ming looked at the injured and dead sheep collapsed on the ground and burst into tears. He knew that all this was because he had lied so many times before, which made the villagers no longer trust him and caused the sheep to suffer such a disaster. When Ming Ming had cried enough, he drove the remaining sheep and returned to the village dejectedly. When the villagers saw his sorry state and the injured sheep, they realized that the wolf had really come. But by then, it was already too late. From then on, Ming Ming changed completely. He was no longer naughty and didn't lie anymore. Every time he went to herd the sheep, he watched over the flock carefully, not taking his eyes off them for a moment, because he understood that if a person always lies and loses the trust of others, he might be the one who gets hurt in the end. And in this small village, the story of the boy who cried wolf has been passed down from mouth to mouth, always reminding children to be honest. Dear little friends, the story of the boy who cried wolf is over. Ming Ming lied many times, and when the wolf really came, no one believed him, and the sheep were hurt. So, everyone must remember to be honest and not lie, or it might lead to bad consequences. There will be more wonderful stories next time. See you then. Dear little friends, today's story, The Three Little Pigs Build Their Houses, is really fun. The three little pigs each built their own houses. One was lazy, one was hasty, and one was smart. When the crafty big bad wolf showed up, what were they going to do? Let's step into the story and find out. Once upon a time, there were three adorable little pig brothers named Chubby, Strong, and Clever. Their mother pig looked at her growing children and said earnestly, "My dears, you're all grown up now. It's time to go out into the world, have some adventures, and learn to live on your own. But always remember, no matter what difficulties you encounter, stick together. Help each other, and keep yourselves safe." Although the three little pigs were a bit reluctant to leave, they bravely nodded, packed their bags, and said goodbye to their warm home. Chubby was the greediest and laziest of the three little pigs. He hummed a tuneless little song and strolled along slowly, only thinking about finding a place to live quickly so he could go back to sleep. As he walked, he saw a pile of hay by the roadside and his eyes lit up at once. "Wow! So much hay! Building a house with this will definitely be quick and easy," he said. He casually picked up a few pieces of hay and quickly put them together. In no time, a wobbly hay house was built. Chubby clapped his hands in satisfaction. "It's done. I can sleep soundly now." With that, he plunged into the house and started snoring away. Strong was an impulsive little pig who did things in a hurry. He hopped and skipped along the way. When he saw a pile of wood not far away, he shouted excitedly, "Hey! This wood looks great. Building a house with it will surely be sturdy and cool." Without checking if the wood was ready, he started building noisily. Soon, a wooden house was finished. Strong proudly walked around the house a few times and even showed off to a passing bird, "Look how awesome my house is." As for Clever, he was the smartest and most careful of the three little pigs. He walked for a long time and looked at many places. Finally, he found a patch of clay at the foot of a hill. Clever thought carefully, high-end wood aren't strong enough. Clay will become really hard after it's fired. Building a house with it will be very safe. So, Clever first dug up some clay, added water, and kneaded it over and over again to make bricks. Then, he picked up some branches and built a simple kiln. While firing the bricks, Clever also discovered an interesting thing. He said to himself excitedly, "So the higher the temperature, the harder the bricks get." That's amazing. After several days of hard work, Clever finally built a super sturdy brick house with the fired bricks. One sunny morning, after they drove away the big bad wolf, the three little pigs were laying in the yard when they suddenly heard some anxious crying. Following the sound, they found a little squirrel covered in mud, sitting under an uprooted old pine tree and wiping away tears. "What's wrong with you?" Clever squatted down on, asked softly. The little squirrel sniffled and said, "My name is Nutswhy. Last night's storm blew down my home, and all my pinnacones were blown away. Winter is coming. What am I going to do?" Chubby rubbed his chubby belly and mumbled, "That's so sad. But what can we do to help?" Strong, however, slapped his chest and said, "Don't worry, we'll help you rebuild your home." Clever looked at Nutswy's fluffy and messy tail and suddenly had an idea. "I've got it. Nutswy, do you know where there's more clay? We can use bricks to build you a sturdier tree hole." Nutswy jumped up in surprise. "There's some in the back hill. I'll take you there." On the way, Nutswy told the little pigs some little facts about the forest. "Look at this sawtooth grass. The edges of its leaves are like little saws and can help us cut ropes. And these purple berries, they look pretty, but they're poisonous. Never eat them." Chubby swallowed hard when he heard this, and Strong poked the sawtooth grass curiously with a branch. When they got to the back hill, the four little animals divided the work. Nutswy used his fluffy big tail to sweep away the leaves on the clay. Chubby was in charge of carrying things, and Strong and Clever stacked the bricks just like building with blocks. Just as the house was almost finished, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky. "Oh no! It's going to rain again." Clever looked up at the rolling clouds. Nutswy stomped his feet in a hurry. "The roof isn't done yet. The bricks will get ruined by the rain." Just then, Strong suddenly pointed at some vines not far away and shouted, "Let's use those vines to make a temporary roof. I learned how to do it when I was building my wooden house." With that, he quickly climbed up the tree, pulled down some long vines, and started weaving with Nutswy. Chubby wasn't idle either. He found some flat big stones on the slope and immediately called out to everyone, "These stones can be used as roof tiles." The storm came quickly and fiercely, and big raindrops pounded on the temporary roof. The four little animals hid in the unfinished house and listened to the howling wind outside. Nutswy worriedly said, "What if the roof gets blown away?" Clever had a bright idea and asked everyone to put the collected pinnacones on the vine roof. "Do you know, this is like adding little guards to the roof. The heavier it is, the more secure it is." Sure enough, with everyone's efforts, the temporary roof held up steadily through the storm. After the rain stopped and the sun came out, they all worked together again and finally finished building Nutswy's new home. The new house not only had a pointed red brick roof, but also several round little windows. Nutsy held a basket full of pinnacones and said with shining eyes, "Thank you all. From now on, this will be our secret base, and I'll teach you how to make wind chimes with pinnacones." From then on, the four little friends could often be seen in the forest. When other little animals were in trouble, they would also lend a hand, just like they did for Nutsy. And what about the big bad wolf? Ever since he was scalded by the hot water, he didn't dare to have any ideas about the little pigs anymore. Sometimes, when he saw the brick house from a distance, he would touch the scar on his bottom and slink away. Every night, happy laughter would come from Nutsy's tree hole. The moonlight shone on the forest, lighting up the figures of these good friends huddled together. They knew that as long as they stayed together, even the biggest storms could turn into fun adventures. Little friends, that's the end of this story. The three little pigs overcame the big bad wolf with their wisdom and unity, and also helped the little squirrel rebuild its home. I hope you can be like them, not be afraid of difficulties when you encounter them, and help each other with your friends. I'll share fun stories every day. Remember to subscribe to me. Dear kids, today we're going to tell a story called Little Riding Hoodin, the Big Bad Wolf. In a beautiful forest, there lived a smart and brave little girl. She always wore a red hat, so everyone affectionately called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood was going to visit her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. But in this mysterious forest, there lived a cunning big bad wolf. Would Little Red Riding Hood be able to reach her grandmother's house safely? What dangers would she encounter? Let's prick up our little ears and listen to this story full of wisdom and courage. On the edge of a lush forest, there was a small village. In the village lived a lovely little girl named Lily. She was called Little Riding Hood because she wore a red hat every day, and this hat was her most precious treasure. Lily was not only cute on the outside, but also very kind and brave on the inside. Her mother often praised her, saying, "Lily, you are the bravest child." Whenever she heard this, Lily would smile sweetly, her eyes curving into crescent moons. One day, the sun was shining brightly, and a gentle breeze was blowing. Lily's mother said to her, "Dear, Grandma is sick. Can you help Mommy take some snacks to her?" Lily nodded without hesitation and said happily, "Of course. I love going to see Grandma." So Lily put on her red hat, carried a small basket full of snacks, and skipped towards the forest. Along the way, she saw many beautiful flowers and couldn't help but stop to pick a few, planning to give them to Grandma. Lily walked into the forest along a winding path. The trees in the forest were tall and dense, and the sunlight shone through the leaves, casting mottled shadows on the ground. The air was filled with the fresh smell of the earth, and occasionally the cheerful songs of birds could be heard. After walking for a while, Lily suddenly heard a low voice. "Ahem. What a nice smell!" She was startled and looked around but saw no one. Just as she was about to continue, a gray figure flashed out from behind a tree. It was a big bad wolf. The big bad wolf's eyes sparkled with a sly light. He asked in a gentle tone, "Little girl, where are you going?" Although Lily was a little scared, she remembered what her mother had said about being polite to others, so she replied, "I'm going to my grandma's house to give her some snacks." The big bad wolf was secretly delighted and thought, "This is heaven sent. I can go to grandma's house first, eat her, and then deal with this little girl." So he said hypocritically, "Oh, is that so? Do you know how to get to your grandma's house?" Lily answered innocently, "Yes, it's on the other side of the forest." The big bad wolf nodded and pretended to be concerned, saying, "That's really far. You have to be careful on the way." With that, he left in a hurry. After the big bad wolf left, he didn't really leave the forest, but quietly went around to the front of Lily. He ran all the way and soon arrived at Grandma's house. Grandma's house was a cozy little wooden cabin surrounded by all kinds of flowers and plants. The big bad wolf knocked on the door. Grandma opened the door and was stunned. "Who are you?" The big bad wolf put on a gentle voice and said, "I'm a friend of Lily's. I've come to visit you." Although Grandma was a bit suspicious, she still let the big bad wolf into the house. As soon as the big bad wolf entered the house, he immediately showed his fierce look, pounced on Grandma, and locked her in the closet. Then, he put on Grandma's clothes, put on her glasses, and lay in Grandma's bed, waiting for Lily to arrive. At the same time, Lily was walking and humming a song in a very happy mood. As she walked, she also greeted the little animals on the roadside. "Hello, little rabbit." "Hello, little squirrel." The little animals also responded to her one after another, and the whole forest was filled with a happy atmosphere. However, when she got to Grandma's door, she suddenly had a strange feeling. She stopped and frowned. Why is Grandma's door open? Usually, Grandma always closes the door. She hesitated for a moment and decided not to go in, but stood at the door and shouted, "Grandma, I'm here." A familiar voice came from the room. "Come in, child." Lily thought the voice sounded a bit strange, but she still pushed the door open and walked in carefully. Lily walked into the room and saw Grandma lying in bed at a glance. She walked closer to the bed and carefully looked at Grandma's appearance, always feeling that something was not quite right. At this time, Grandma said, "Dear, come here and let me look at you." Lily slowly walked closer to the bed, her eyes staring closely at Grandma. She noticed that Grandma's ears were much longer than usual, and her claws were also showing. Her heart immediately rang with alarm bells, but she still remained calm on the surface. Lily deliberately asked Grandma, "Why are your ears so long?" The big bad wolf tried to act calm and replied, "This is so that I can hear you better." Lily asked again, "Then why are your claws so big?" The big bad wolf hurriedly explained, "This is because I want to give you a better hug." Lily already understood almost everything, but she didn't directly expose the big bad wolf's identity. Instead, she decided to use a trick to protect herself and Grandma. She suddenly shouted, "Grandma, there are a few little rabbits outside looking for you to play. They said they brought you fresh carrots." When the big bad wolf heard this, he immediately jumped out of bed. "Where?" Lily took the opportunity to run to the door, quickly closed it, and blocked it with a thick wooden stick. The big bad wolf found out that he had been tricked, roared angrily, and hit the door hard, but the door didn't move. Just as the big bad wolf was desperately hitting the door, Lily quickly ran to the closet, opened it, and rescued Grandma, who was trapped inside. Grandma looked at Lily gratefully, touched her head, and said, "Thank you, my dear granddaughter. You're so smart." Lily and Grandma discussed it and decided to go find the hunter in the forest for help. They walked out of the house and saw the hunter on patrol from afar. Lily hurriedly ran over and told the hunter what had happened at home. After listening, the hunter immediately rushed to Grandma's house with his hunting dog. When he arrived, the big bad wolf was still hitting the door crazily. The hunter used a rope to tie around the big bad wolf's neck and subdued it. After some commotion, the big bad wolf was finally taken away by the hunter. Lily and Grandma returned to the warm little wooden cabin and sat down again to enjoy the delicious snacks. Lily felt very proud because she not only successfully protected herself and Grandma, but also learned how to deal with danger. Grandma stroked Lily's hair and said gently, "Dear, today's experience has made you braver and smarter. Remember, no matter what difficulties you encounter, you must stay calm and use your wisdom to solve problems." Lily nodded and said seriously, "Grandma, I will remember. Next time I encounter a bad person, I will be as brave as I was today." Dear kids, the story ends here. Through this story, we have learned many important truths. We should stay calm and use our brains to find solutions when we encounter danger. At the same time, we should also learn to protect ourselves and the people around us. Although Lily was young, she defeated the cunning big bad wolf. With her wisdom and courage and became a real hero. I hope you can be like Lily, not shrink back when facing difficulties, and bravely solve problems. As long as we work together, there is no difficulty that we cannot overcome. Finally, Teacher Becky hopes you will subscribe to my channel so that I can share nice bedtime stories with you every day. Good night and sweet dreams. Dear kids, today we're going to tell a story called The Lazy Bear Buys a Watermelon. In the forest, the lazy bear had a sweet dream. He dreamed that he was eating a big, juicy watermelon that was so sweet. To make this dream come true, he had to leave his cozy cave and go to the market under the hot sun to buy a watermelon. But a big watermelon is really heavy. How on earth can the lazy bear carry it back home? Let's prick up our ears and listen to this interesting and inspiring story. The summer sun was like a blazing fire, baking the forest hot. But the lazy bear, named Benny, was comfortably curled up in his cool cave, fast asleep. His fluffy belly rose and fell with each breath, and saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth, plopping onto his belly. Suddenly, he smacked his lips. In his dream, he was holding a round, plump watermelon and took a big crunch bite. The sweet juice burst in his mouth at once, feeling icy cold. The taste was even sweeter than honey. Growl, a loud rumble from his stomach broke his wonderful dream. Benny opened his eyes sleepily, smacked his lips, and savored the sweetness of the watermelon in his dream.
No way! I must have that watermelon.
He struggled to get up, but as soon as he stuck his head out, a wave of heat hit him. Just thinking about leaving his cozy cave and walking a long way to the market under the scorching sun, Benny felt like a deflated balloon.
Oh, what a hassle. Maybe if I take another nap, my stomach won't be hungry anymore.
He was just about to lie back down when his stomach growled again. The craving for the watermelon was driving him crazy.
All right. I'll do it for the watermelon.
Benny gritted his teeth and slowly crawled out. He stumbled out of the cave and hadn't gone a few steps before he was panting from the heat. Big beads of sweat rolled down the tip of his nose.
Oh, whoa. It's so hot. I should have slept a bit longer. Now I'm suffering.
He grumbled as he shuffled forward, regretting every step in his heart. But whenever he thought of the delicious watermelon, he couldn't help but quicken his pace. Finally, Benny made it to the market. He felt as if he was about to melt under the sun. He was just looking for a shady place to rest when suddenly a sweet, fresh smell of fruit wafted into his nose. His eyes lit up at once. Following the smell, he saw a watermelon stall. The watermelons were piled up like a green hill. They were a vivid green with dark green stripes that wore like a beautiful floral dress on the watermelons, glistening temptingly in the sun. The fox vendor, named Freddie, grinned and shouted,
Come and buy watermelons. They're sweet and sandy. If they're not sweet, you don't have to pay.
Benny's mouth watered instantly. He quickly wiped his mouth and went over, asking,
Freddie, how much are these watermelons?
Freddie winked his sly eyes and said,
One watermelon costs 5 acorn coins. If you buy two, I'll give you a discount of 1 acorn coin.
Benny felt his pocket. He had enough acorn coins, but he thought to himself,
This watermelon is so big. How can I carry it by myself? If I carry it back home, it'll probably kill me. Renting Freddie's cart costs 3 acorn coins. That's too expensive. It's like he's robbing me. No, I have to find a way that doesn't cost any money.
His eyes rolled, and suddenly he had an idea.
I can ask my friends for help. Then I can save the acorn coins. I'll just share the watermelon with them when I get home. I'm such a clever bear.
Benny thought happily. He trotted over to the little monkey's house and said out of breath,
Tommy, I'll treat you to a watermelon. Can you help me carry it home?
Tommy was busy swinging between the branches and didn't even look back. He said,
No, I'm busy.
Benny felt so disappointed when he was refused. He hung his head and felt really wronged.
Tommy is so unkind. If you won't help me, I'll find someone else.
Then he went to the little rabbit's house and said pitifully,
Lucy, I bought a big watermelon. Can you help me carry it back? I'll give you half of it.
Lucy was concentrating on planting carrots and waved her hand without looking up. She said,
I'm not free either. You figure it out yourself.
Benny was completely panicked now. He sat by the roadside with tears welling up in his eyes.
What should I do? Can't I eat the watermelon? I should have rented Freddie's cart, but I don't want to spend the acorn coins.
Just as he was sighing, a group of little ants marched past in an orderly line, working together to carry food. Benny's eyes lit up like he had grasped a life-saving straw.
These little ants are so united. Maybe they can help me. If I give them cookies, they'll surely agree.
He immediately stood up, put on a big smile, and said,
Little ants, I'll give you cookies. Can you help me roll the watermelon home?
The little ants waved their antennae excitedly and said,
Sure.
Then he led the little ants back to the watermelon stall and picked the biggest and roundest watermelon, watching the little ants standing beside the watermelon, shouting, heave ho, and pushing the watermelon with all their might. The watermelon began to roll slowly. Benny followed behind, feeling extremely proud.
I'm so smart. I solved the problem without spending any acorn coins. I'll be able to eat the watermelon when I get home.
But they hadn't gone far when the watermelon rolled onto a small slope. No matter how hard the little ants pushed, the watermelon didn't move at all. The little ants were sweating profusely, ungasped. We can't do it. It's too heavy. Benny's smile froze at once, and he was really flustered.
What should I do? If I can't get the watermelon home, all my efforts will be in vain. No, I can't give up. I must think of a way.
He looked around anxiously. Suddenly, he spotted several branches. A brilliant idea flashed through his mind.
That's it. I can put the branches under the watermelon and make a skateboard. Then the watermelon can roll down.
Benny jumped up excitedly and quickly put the branches under the watermelon. Then he joined the little ants and shouted the slogan. 1, 2, 3. The watermelon rolled down the slope along the branches with a gurgling sound. Then he finally let out a sigh of relief.
Phew! I almost failed.
After all the trouble, they finally got the watermelon home. Benny gave the cookies to the little ants. He couldn't wait to pick up the knife, and his hands were trembling with excitement.
I'll finally be able to eat the watermelon I've been longing for. No matter how hard it was worth it.
With a click, the watermelon was cut open. The bright red flesh and black seeds looked so tempting. Benny took a big bite.
Wow, it's so sweet. Although it was a bit hard, it was all worth it to eat such a delicious watermelon.
From then on, whenever Benny wanted to eat a watermelon, he would think of this interesting experience. Patting his round belly, he couldn't help but sigh.
It turns out that as long as I'm willing to work hard and use my brain, I can solve even the most difficult problems. I can't be so lazy anymore.
Gradually, he really changed. He often took the initiative to help his friends with their work and became a kind and popular bear in the forest. Dear kids, the story ends here. Through this story, we saw Benny's journey from being lazy and afraid of trouble at first to finally successfully carrying the watermelon home through hard work and wisdom. This not only allowed Benny to taste the delicious watermelon, but also made him understand that as long as we are willing to work hard and use our brains, we can solve any difficult problem. I hope you can be like Benny, bravely trying when facing challenges, solving problems with wisdom, and learning to care for and help those around you. May you all become beloved, kind-hearted darlings. Finally, Teacher Becky hopes you will subscribe to my channel so that I can share nice bedtime stories with you every day. Good night and have sweet dreams.